Hello, everybody. You're welcome once again. And today we'll actually be creating a middleware function that will get the user token, verify the user before permitting the user access to our protected routes. In the previous tutorial, we discussed on how to generate this token for the user. If it should, in case you missed that part of the tutorial, you can do it to check that on my YouTube channel on how to generate token for user to access protected route and how to protect your route. So in this very tutorial, I will be showing you how to create a middleware function that will get this token, verify if this token is valid token, and if the token is successfully verified, then it will permit the user to access those protected endpoints on our server. So quickly, this is actually going to be an Express middleware. So I created a middleware function here, a middleware folder, and within the middleware folder, I have a file called user auth.tf. So this is actually an empty file, and I'll be doing the live coding at this moment, so you get to see how you create your own middleware function to to allow user access on other routes. So first thing I'm going to import I'll import Express from Express. So quickly, I'll have to import some Express type for the middleware. I'll have to bring in a request, which is type on Express. I have to bring in a response, and then I can bring in the next function type on Express. So I will be needing that, and another um, package I'll be needing is JWT. I've already installed these dependencies, this node modules package on my npm. You can um, do well to import that and install that also on your application. So I want to bring in my JWT package. So I have that imported, and um, I'm sorry, let me okay, so I also have to bring in the user model which is already created because I'll actually be checking, doing a I'll actually be checking who the user is, if the user is existing in a database, and then checking if the payload which we are getting from the token if it's valid, if it's kind of valid and it's in our database. So for that, I have to bring in the user. Let me quickly check what was the name, what I named that in my model. Okay, yeah, it's user instance. So I have to import that also on my function. So let me bring in user instance that is coming from a model. Let me get the part real quick. We just step out of the current folder. Oh, this is actually a name export, so I have to put it in file braces, just like that. Okay, user instance is declared but never. Okay, that's actually IntelliSense, so that will go away really quick. Now, the middleware, I want to call it is login. So let me say const is login. Um, that will actually be an arrow function. So I'll say is equal to request, which is of type request. I already imported from Express. I'll have a response, which is of type response. And then I'll have my next function. Since this is a middleware function, so it need to carry third variable, which is the next function type there. Okay, and so this is my middleware function. So in my function body, I can bring in the try catch block where the success part of the code will be in the try block, and then the server error or any other, you know, any other error or break in the code that can be, gotten from the catch part of the code function. So that's my try catch block. Sorry. Okay. Now, the first thing I need to do is I need to get the authorization, which is actually coming from the request header. So quickly get that authorization coming from request.headers. Okay, good. Now, my I have to check if there is no authorization being sent by the user. Then I'll quickly have to just stop from here and then um, run a failure status code to the user. So if there's no authorization being passed, then I'll just rest of send to the user. Um, no authorization found. So this will actually just you know just break and then respond with this message to the user no authorization found, and the user can no longer continue on the app. He needs to provide us an authorization, and yeah, if authorization has been provided, then we can get the access token from the authorization. So I can then go ahead and say const access token. Let me make this camel case. Const access token is equal to authorization dot split by space, and then we'll get the second element on the authorization headers which we'll be getting. And so that will actually be our access token. Now, at this point, well, we've already gotten an access token from the user authorization header. So we can then go ahead and verify this access token using the JWT verify method. Then the result we'll get from that, we can actually store that as our payload to our person. I can go ahead and say const payload is equals to this should be const actually. That is the typo. So JWT dot verify. So what do we want to verify at this moment? We actually want to verify our access token. We need to pass in uh, our JWT key, which uh, is already stored in our environmental variable. So we have to put that there for it to be secure. So that will be our process. Dot env dot I think it's JWT secret access token. This is capital J. Sorry for the type. Okay. So yeah, so that line of code will help us to verify the token if it's valid, if it's not expired, and then it will return back a response of with the payload from the JWT um, verify method. Now this is actually going to be a promise, so we have to await the response. Okay, now since we are waiting it here, we have to make our function an asynchronous function for us to make use of our await keyword. So I have to make this async here. Okay, so that should fix that real quick. Um, jwt.verify. Sorry. This is jwt. That's the correct name for the method. There's no it's not with the capital J in the JWT package, and there's no curly braces here actually. Okay, this is actually complaining because it's possible we don't have this in our env, so I have to pass in the non-knowledge operator there to assure this function that we our JWT access token is not null. Okay, now at this point we've verified our JWT token and we've gotten a response back with the payload. So from if you check from the previous tutorial, one of the items we use, the payload we use in generating our token was actually the user ID. So we can get that real quick from payload. So I can go ahead and say const ID, doing some structuring here. Equals to payload. We can get that just for now. Let me just get it as any, and our request can be as a form of request or any for now. Um, um, we will take care of the any type uh, shortly. So let's just move ahead and now go ahead and check. Now, if maybe there's no ID, if ID is not being passed, as if there's no ID in the payload, which is being gotten from JWT verify method, then we can just return back and you know send a response to the user telling them you are not logging. Because if the user is logged in with the correct JWT token, then there's actually supposed to be an ID in the payload. But if the user should provide any token which is maybe compromised and after verifying there's no ID in the token, then we can respond back to the user and saying invalid token provided. And then if maybe there's a token, and then within the token, after verifying, we're able to get some IDs as part of the payload. Then we can go ahead and you know get the user who owns that ID. So let me call that const user equal to. So this is where we make use of the user instance we imported. Goes to user instance but find by ID. So since we already have ID, I'm using Mongoose. So I have it find by ID method on my mongoose, then I can pass in ID. So as the parameters for my mongoose find by. So sorry, this should be a dot, not comma. Now, well, mongoose find by ID will actually return the promise. So we will definitely have to await that also in order for us to get the user's response. And I think I have the typo there. So let me quickly correct that real quick here. And and I think I have some little typos here on my imports. So let me quickly make let me quickly correct that. So I'm importing a user instance from from my model, my models, and from my models I want to get the user model real quick. Okay. I think let me check. Is there any error on the naming type? Okay. Oh, the error was actually on the name I used in making the import. There was actually some typos there. All right. Now at this point, we've successfully, you know, gotten the ID from the token provided, and then we did some destructuring. Then we from the destructured parameters where we got the ID, we check if that user with the ID exists in our database. Now, if this user is not in our database, then we can, let me quickly write that and do an if check if the user is not in our database. So if not user, um, I can just quickly return over here once again, return by sending, some message to the user. Let's send um, user, this should be a string, not user not registered on database. So, what this point is actually trying to explain, or what this part of the code is trying to tell the user is okay, maybe after providing a valid token, and you know, from the token, we will get the ID, and then we'll check if that particular ID is existing in our database. And for this ID not to be in our database, that means the user is not registered. So we just return back that the user, registered. You can go ahead and register before you can kind of access or kind of pass through this middleware function over here. So now, if we've successfully, verified the user, verified that the token is valid, I've gotten the ID, and we've checked in our database, and we've confirmed that this user is in our database and it's registered, then we can then go straight ahead and say request.user, that this user who is making this request is that user which we made some check from our database and which was gotten his detail. And after successfully getting that, we can then go ahead and call on the next function. Now, what is next is actually doing is trying to kind of okay, we've successfully verified this user's impact is successfully verified. You can permit the user to access the next function. So that is how the middleware works. Now, on the catch block, this is where let me quickly kind of address that catch block part of the code. Now, this is where we'll kind of address the problem of maybe the user is giving us an invalid token, or maybe there's a break somewhere on the server side on our code. So I can go ahead and say if error error.name if it's equal to maybe token expired, okay, token expired error, then we can just return from here by sending a token expired message to the user. Token expired. Now, what I'm trying to manage at this part of the code is in a scenario where the user provides us maybe some expired token, because in most cases your token have to have some expiration period. So if a user should provide us a token which is already expired, though the token contains maybe some valid user ID, but the token is already expired, then we can just return back a response to the user and tell him that this token is expired. You need to give us a valid token, or else you won't have access to this route you're trying to go through. So that will take care of that. And then else, if the token is not expired, maybe there's a bug somewhere or there's a break somewhere in our code, then we can send back the status and send back a status code of 500. This is for server side error, and then um, with string text of server side error. So that's basically it, and that's basically how you create a middleware function. And we need to export this. We need to export. Let me export default. It's login uh, function. Um, if I get that repeat, okay. So yeah, that's basically it. That's how you create a middleware function to verify and authenticate the user before allowing them to access a protected route. Now, in your route or in any part of your code, wherever you need this middleware, all what you need to do in there is, just passing this middleware to do the check for you before allowing the user to access those protected routes. Thank you very much for watching, and do feel free to subscribe. And whenever there's any kind of update or any kind of new code, you'll get the notification on that. Thank you once again, and see you in the next tutorial.